Our ancestors knew how to live in symbiosis with nature. They embodied their role as a steward of the natural resources that provided their every means of subsistence. They understood the delicate balance that nature requires to ensure there is enough for now and the future. It is imperative that we continue to nurture and protect our natural resources. In doing so, we ensure that those species of cultural significance to our people can be utilized today and for many generations to come.
As a child, I can remember not seeing any settlement on the rocks as the tide breathed, as the ocean breathed. The grandfathers told us that the ocean had strong breath. And the waves were so beautiful. There was just no concern when I was a child that there was any pollution. And I was a child back then as an orca. I watched the ocean breathe. I seen the bottom of the ocean with no danger. I seen the bottom of the ocean with no litter, no plastic. And today my concern of an old orca is the future of my children and grandchildren. And are we going to be able to get any sort of relief from this dilemma that we're in, that's caused by recklessness. And I breathe the bubbles of diesel engines. When are we going to be able to be sure that our future can get brighter? Aishka.
1792 was when the first schooner came through the Guimas Channel and passed in front of what's today known as Cypress Island. And why that's important to me is my Samish ancestor at that time would have been 7 generations back from me. And we're always taught in our culture to think at least 7 generations forward. So that family of mine was alive when the newcomers came into this area. And all of the changes that happened on Cypress Island after that point happened as a result of new people coming into this area and the relationships back and forth between us and them and the landscape. And I think what makes me sentimental about that is thinking 7 generations forward from me. What's it going to be like? How have the Samish people continued strong to think about what's important about the land, what's important about our relationships with one another, with the creatures of the sea, the creatures of the air, the creatures of the earth, and the trees and the plants. In our traditions, all of those had equal status initially when we look at the creation stories for our people. It was a place where people went for spiritual solace. It was a place where people went to go fast and bathe in the high lake that was up on top of the mountain. And there were caves there where people would go and seek their spiritual guidance and instruction. And being a person who lives that kind of a life today, that's so important to me that we don't have these places today that are protected and away from development, away from contamination, away from pollution and away from noise and distractions of modern life. That always for our people, Cyprus was an island where people went to find that quietness and that connection to Mother Earth, to all of the teachings that the tree people and the winged ones and the four-leggeds, because they all inhabited that island. They all lived there. But the most important thing about that island, I can't stress this enough, is that it was a place where people went to seek their guidance from the spirits. And for all of our people, that the guidance and the teachings comes from the gifts that Mother Nature has to give us. All of those spiritual powers that come to people come because you take your time out in Mother Nature to find that. And you find those gifts and you hear those messages. And it's that connection to that other world that's pristine and I guess not destroyed, not tampered with, that we just don't find anywhere.
We would take the motorboat over there and go for hikes on Cypress Island, and we would hike up to all the different lakes that are out there, and we'd go swimming, and we would see just tons of rough-skinned newts, and just spend hours hiking up there and swimming in the lakes and eating trail mix, and it was a real family activity. I think that's probably one of the things that I find most valuable about places like Cyprus is its ability to make you feel whole, to bring together the family, to bring together your spirit, to put you back in a natural place, which is where we all came from. More recently, I've been going over there to do work restoring Cypress Island because I have a new job with the Samish Indian Nation, which I'm really lucky to be here with my tribe and to be doing this work, because this kind of work, this value that we have for our natural systems as a tribe is something that's it's in our Indian ways to care for the land. So I couldn't be happier with the job that I have now. And going over to Cyprus to do the work we're doing there, monitoring it and working on this restoration project is, just reminds me of my trips over there as a kid, and what I loved so much about those trips was getting to be out in that nature.
We're sitting here on the south shore of Cypress Island today, which is one of our natural areas in the region in Skagit County in the San Juan Islands. Been in the planning, design, and now implementation stage of salt marsh restoration in Secret Harbor. A part of that influence, part of that human influence has been diking and filling what we think was once a functioning salt marsh wetland, saltwater marsh. One of the goals of the construction of the project is to open up potential habitat, near shore and estuarine habitat for salmon and other aquatic species. This was, as I understand it, a traditional use area for the Samish, Secret Harbor specifically, and so they obviously have an interest in the place and in seeing the restoration of a more natural system in Secret Harbor. So they've been involved in the project since the beginning. The tribe has. They've been doing the biological monitoring, kind of baseline monitoring for the restoration project for 2 years now. And that work continues, and I think will continue post-construction to see how things change for another year or two. And then who knows from there.
We've been doing a variety of biological monitoring to establish a pre-restoration baseline. We have done avian surveys for birds, amphibian surveys for frogs, newts, and salamanders, clam surveys in the muddy tide flats, fish surveys, both beach seining and forage fish egg surveys in the beach sediment, vegetation surveys with help from ethnobotanical specialists, water quality sampling of fresh and salt water, and we have a meteorological tower to monitor the weather. We perform these surveys to capture data that will paint a picture of the site's biotic and abiotic assets before the restoration begins. And when the restoration is completed, we will resume the surveys to see what has changed.
We certainly hope, we at DNR certainly hope that that partnership continues into the future. We appreciate the connection to the area, to the place that the tribe has, and we value that. We value the partnership that we have, the good working relationship. So we look forward to that continuing, in perpetuity. Places like Cypress are an attempt to preserve some of the best of what's left. And for me, this project creates once we do the construction and we kind of set things in motion, it's like the place gets a chance to rest again. That's what I see. That's my view for it. You can't wait to see what it looks like when it's done.
And the more we delve into modern science, the more we find that there's a connection and a relationship with the old teachings, that there's some sense of the two not being so vastly different after all. And as a person that's always had a curious mind and a fondness for science, it touches me to see the way in which the old and the new come together and look at one another with a new kind of respect instead of distrust, instead of an arrogance that there's no place for the two together. What I'm so excited about is seeing the way in which that old and the new can come together with a new strength and a new resilience. And so the work that our Samish community is doing is actually strengthened by the science that's behind some of that. And I'm hoping that the science is benefiting from what our Samish people have to contribute about what some of our beliefs are about the old ways, and that shapes and shifts the direction of the science too, because what we're hoping, I believe, at least I'm hoping for in all of this, is that a new day is really coming where we don't have to have arguments about which. We can just have fruitful discussions about making the right choices for the right reasons and being guided by both.
So I think that restoration projects like this are really important for the health of ecosystems and for the health of people.
So for me, the heart of restoration is bringing things back to where they were when they've been all torn up and dammed, or whatever you want to say, when we've taken our human hands and completely changed the landscape, when we decide to do the right thing in this instance of going back and allowing whatever estuaries and streams there were to begin with to come back to life, then we're a part of healing that place, and we're a part of healing one another.